Now, to talk further on this, we have joining us today Dr. Bong Young-shik from the Yonsei Institute of North Korean Studies. It's good to have you with us today.
Very pleased to be here again.
So, Washington has re-designated North Korea as a violator of religious freedom, along with a number of other nations, including China, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Eritrea. I mean, an interesting group of countries to keep company with. But for North Korea, it's their 17th year that they've been given this dubious honor. I mean, can you tell us more about this designation and about the religious freedom in North Korea as well?
Well, the announcement of this designation of North Korea, among other countries, is the fulfillment of the 1998 International Religious Freedom Act of the United States, which stipulates the executive office of the government to impose tough measures, including possible economic sanctions on those countries, with borrowing Secretary Pompeo's own words, systematic, ongoing and egregious violation of religious freedom. And North Korea has been in an enviable position to be designated for 18th consecutive years, counting this time. So timing of this designation is coincidental. I mean, the timing of the announcement of the North Korea being designated again is not intentional by the State Department of the U.S. government, because it is a fulfillment of the obligation imposed by the Congress for the executive office. But it doesn't really help for North Korea to relieve any of the existing economic sanctions and other pressures imposed by the Trump administration. And this is also reflective of growing concern expressed by the Congress after the midterm election in November about a stalemate between North Korea and the United States with regards to resolving the nuclear missile threat of North Korea after the summit meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chairman Kim Jong-un in Singapore in June. Now it seems like a very distant memory, and the lack of tangible result after the summit meeting in June must have been a source of frustration for the members of the Congress as well as the State Department.
You say it doesn't look like it was a deliberate attempt to the timing of this, but it comes a day after Washington also imposed sanctions on 3 North Korean officials, one of them a key member of Kim Jong-un's inner circle. I mean, these events piling up in 2 days in a row, you don't think it's a coordinated, perhaps, attack to put pressure on North Korea to come back to talks, or is that just, as you say, a coincidence?
Well, the announcement of the designation of North Korea as one of the 10 countries of particular concern for the violation of religious freedom is coincidental. But you are correct that the announcement of other measures, such as the designation of the 3 key members of the Kim Jong-un regime for their involvement in the systematic and egregious violation of human rights, is, I think, intentional in terms of timing, and intention for the Trump administration to increase the pressure on the Kim Jong-un regime to come out with verifiable and sufficient measures for complete denuclearization as the ultimate goal. Not just the designation of 3 key members of the North Korean government for human rights violations, but there are additional measures in the U.S. Congress. For instance, Senator Gardner has been leading the LEAD Act, which is focused on terminating the energy supply to North Korea until North Korea will come out with verifiable and full denuclearization. And just 4th of December, the Senate actually passed the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, dubbed as Arirang, with unanimous decisions. And the area is very important for setting the long-term strategy of the United States in the region of the Indo-Pacific. And the act, it is said in the act of Arirang that one of the major goals of the U.S. long-term strategy in the Indo-Pacific region is to prevent and stop all illegal activities by North Korea, including complete economic sanctions on North Korea until the goal of denuclearization will be achieved. So the Congress also requires the executive office to submit within 30 days if the executive office is going to cancel one of the existing economic sanctions on North Korea, and also require the executive office to submit list of countries that have not been in cooperation to maintain tough sanctions on North Korea. So North Korea's position is increasingly cornered and under mounting pressure because now the Congress is expressing interest and concern not only for denuclearization of North Korea, but also what has been going on inside North Korea, especially human rights violations.
The US State Department spokesperson stressed that alongside putting pressure on North Korea's human rights abuses, that they're continuing to pursue the final fullified and verified denuclearization of North Korea. But can they pursue both at the same time? I mean, if the US comes out with these kinds of sanctions and measures, how is North Korea going to react?
Right, that's a very important point that you addressed. There has been argument that you have to give North Korean regime some breathing space so that North Korean regime will be more willing to agree upon final and fully verified denuclearization in exchange for United States not pressuring North Korea for other issues, including human rights violations. I think the reason why the United States has begun to raise issues other than the denuclearization of North Korea at this moment is the expression of frustration for lack of negotiations at working levels since the summit meeting in June. And it is known that North Korean government officials have not been responding to messages from Washington for working level meetings in Vienna and other sites. So it has been reported that the State Department has been really frustrated and even angered at non-action and delaying tactics employed by North Korean regime. So this is a kind of a message, tough message sent by the U.S. government to North Korea to take concrete actions for denuclearization.
Now, we'll have to see how North Korea reacts to that. But if we shift focus as well, we're also waiting North Korean reaction on a different matter as well. According to Yonhap News, a senior Blue House official has now said that it looks like Kim Jong-un's visit to Seoul before the year's end will be, if I quote the official in the report, it's going to be difficult. It's not an official statement, but it's just a Yonhap News report. But if we go with it, it's the first time the presidential office would have said anything of this nature. What can we now assume? Can we now safely assume that it won't happen this year?
Well, we have to, brace ourselves that you never know when it comes to North Korea, very opaque and closed system. So if the Supreme Leader changes his mind, then his visit to Seoul may take place, regardless of all the difficulties involving in physical preparation for his visit. So door is not completely closed, but judging from the statement by high-ranked official inside the president's office, then his visit is unlikely to happen before the end of the year. The reason why North Korean leadership has not been so cooperative with the Moon Jae-in government to realize this historic visit by the top leader of North Korea for the first time to the sovereign territory of South Korea is that there's not much to gain for North Korean leadership to agree on this return visit to Seoul. Because the biggest concern for North Korean leadership now is to get some sanction reliefs of any kind. But as agreed between US President Donald Trump and South Korean President Moon Jae-in in the sideline of G20 summit meeting in Argentina, both South Korea and the United States agreed to maintain strong sanctions on North Korea until North Korea will have accomplished complete denuclearization. So without the prospect of sanction reliefs in exchange for his visit to Seoul, which is one of the most formidable and important strategic cards for North Korean leadership, which cannot be prematurely or easily wasted for virtually nothing. It makes sense for North Korean leadership to just delay the possible visit to Seoul until there will be tangible outcomes guaranteed by both United States and South Korea.
But why do you think North Korea has not given any answer of any kind? I mean, it must be a little frustrating for the South Korean presidential office. Is this just a tactic that North Korea employs to kind of put South Korea on edge?
Right. It is to put the South Korean government on edge and try to test the political atmosphere inside South Korea. And I think there's additional intention for North Korea being so silent, which is to make things very difficult for reporters like you. I mean, North Koreans are very inclined to messing up your holiday vacation schedule.
Well, I won't resent Kim Jong-un for that. I'm sure he has other things on his mind other than
He must be
us
really
reporters.
busy preparing the text of the New Year's message, which is less than a month away.
So yes, that will definitely be interesting to see what comes out of that. Quickly before we go as well, South Korea has not been being able to get something out of Kim Jong-un yet, but that doesn't mean South Korea hasn't been working with North Korea on other issues. For example, today the two Koreas have carried out inspections to verify that the guard posts in the demilitarized zone have been removed successfully. That was the 11 guard posts that they agreed earlier this year to completely destroy. And it's the first time since 1953 that the soldiers from either side have crossed the DMZ to onto each other's areas. How significant is this?
This is very significant in many ways, and I like to give a high marks to Moon Jae-in government for achieving this in cooperation with North Korean leadership. First reason for positive evaluation of this measure is that it contributes to actual reduction of military tension across the demilitarized zone. Second, it can help prevent accidental clashes between the two militaries positioned across the DMZ. And third is, it is a very effective measure to test the genuine intentions of North Korean leadership for trust building between the two Koreas. So in many ways, this is a very important step toward building more mutual trust and reduction of military tension. But there is a danger. If DMZ is going to be safe to travel for North Korean residents, then I would expect that there will be a massive outflow of North Koreans in search for freedom in South Korea. If Kim Jong-un government is going to take harsh measures to prevent North Korean residents from defecting across the DMZ, like shooting them behind their backs, then the main issue that we've been discussing today, human rights violations by North Korean leadership, will emerge as a very outstanding issue, not only between United States and North Korea, but between the two Koreas.
I think that's a neat way to finish up tonight in today's show. Thank you for coming in today and giving us some insights into North Korea as well.
You're welcome.